What's up, everybody? Taylor Wilson here today, coming to you live from San Diego, California. This is a Resourceful Vet podcast, and today we have Christopher Hopper on here to talk to you about tech and what it takes to get recruited into tech. Chris, thanks for joining us here today.
Taylor, thanks a lot for having me today as a guest.
Appreciate that. So, Chris, can you just kind of tell the audience your background and exactly what you do?
Sure. So Chris Hopper out of Houston, Texas. Right now, in the last 5 years, I've been a technical recruiter in the IT space. Prior to that, I was a technologist myself. I first started 20 years ago being a programmer and then moved up through the corporate hierarchy, ended up being a dev lead, a technical project manager, manager in the consulting space, worked for Accenture and traveled the world for over 5 years. And then was also a career counselor. So I helped up-and-comers try to get established in their tech career. And so part of that was mentoring those younger generation, or even some that were older than me, who were just trying to pivot into technology. And now in the recruiting space, I help those that are looking to either break into tech, get their first position, or more so just really guide those, do resume reviews, maybe mock interviews, things just to help answer questions as far as what the tech space is all about, how to land your first position. And then I also get paid by companies who actually want to hire resources in order to pay me for our services to be able to find them technical talent that they can't find themselves.
Wow, well, that's quite a background you got there, and a lot of stuff you've gone through and accomplished. And I'm just interested too, is who is tech for?
Well, right now, tech is such a hot commodity, right? And so, there's so much demand in every company that needs technical professionals. And usually when I'm speaking about technical professionals, it's more about information technology, right? So it's going to be more systems and developers and architects and testers who are going to usually either be moving customers from, maybe they have on-prem servers and want to move to the cloud, or they're running some technologies that are in the cloud right now, such as, Salesforce is one example. And there's other examples as well. Salesforce is one of my specialties as far as what I recruit a lot on, just because the amount of demand on Salesforce professionals, because not everyone, but a lot of companies are running Salesforce as their primary CRM and the Force.com platform. And a lot of companies need help to be able to utilize that software. And so they need developers or administrators or architects to be able to continue to get an ROI out of that investment. But to answer your question, as far as who's tech for, it's really for anybody who wants to have, a long-standing career that pays pretty well. There's a lot of demand for it. But there's also, some self-learning and teaching that one has to also be passionate about. Because with technology, it's ever changing, and every 6 months to a year, you're going to hear about some new buzzwords or some new technology that's hitting the marketplace, and so you have to stay relevant. A lot of times within technology, because it's so fast moving, people may find it being hard to keep up, and so you really have to have a passion for technology and be kind of have it consume you to some extent in order to continue to advance your career in the field.
Great. Well, thank you for that. And I'm interested too, what do companies look for in a candidate?
So typically is a couple of different things, but I think first and foremost is someone that's well-rounded. I know we kind of throw that term around quite a bit, but you don't want to be just a programmer and necessarily sit in a cube and just be handed documents to be able to build applications on. Now, sometimes that's okay, but I think where you become a little bit more relevant and in higher demand is if you also carry some soft skills with you. Right. And so maybe you have to be a business analyst to be able to solution or do prototypes or proof of concepts for customers or for the business themselves, be able to demonstrate those, be able to understand what they're looking to do with the software, and then going back to your desk and maybe working with a team to be able to translate those requirements into technical delivery components to be able to have them use a system against. Right. And so, sometimes we get pigeonholed to be just a developer and just to code all day and have someone else give us the requirements. But I think a lot of companies are trying to find someone that can wear multiple hats. Right. So talk to the business, understand what their needs are, go back to your desk, do some prototyping, some proof of concepts, show those solutions to the business, get them to understand whether or not that works for what they're looking for. If not, they'll give you some tweaks to make, and you'll go back to your desk to make those, and then kind of go through that agile, iterative process back and forth to be able to finally build exactly what they're looking for.
And why should you get in contact with a recruiter first?
So a lot of times companies post jobs on the job boards, right? And so since there's such, job boards are wide open to anybody and everybody. And so a company may post a position on the job board. And if you look at that job posting, there may be 2, 3, 500 applicants for that job. And so how do you get your resume to the top of the stack when you're competing with everybody else who's actually seen that same job and also applying for it? Now, a lot of times recruiters have a direct channel into the hiring manager or the director of HR, and they can help advocate for you and get your resume to the top of the stack, so to speak. And so the recruiter's job is really to be that broker between you as a candidate and the hiring manager of the company. Now, a lot of times companies don't use recruiters because there's an expense tied to it. And so how I get paid is if I place somebody in a position, the company pays me a fee for placing that individual. And so companies can't always afford that. So they have to rely on the job boards or other means to be able to recruit. But if you do talk to a recruiter and they have a direct relationship with the hiring manager of the company, it's in your best interest to at least hear about the position. Maybe they have some inside scoop about the position in the company that you wouldn't necessarily find out on your own. And then have them represent you if it's a good fit on your side as well as on the company side. I just think you would have an advantage going through a recruiter, and it's no cost to you. Companies usually have a budget allocated to external recruiters to be able to pay for their services. So it won't be like you would receive less of a income or a salary based on using an external recruiter. But you just want to make sure when a recruiter reaches out to you, they have a fit that is a good fit for both you and for the company itself. And you don't want to make sure that the recruiter is not just wasting your time as well. Because sometimes you'll talk to recruiters who, just kind of tend to spam to candidates and throw out job positions that they may not even have themselves. They may just find a job position on the job board and act like they're portraying being the recruiter for that particular company. And so it's kind of a touchy subject when it comes to recruiting. But if you can find a good recruiter that has a direct relationship with the company, again, you want to use their pull, their sway in order to be able to get you an upper advantage into the position.
Great. Well, I'm interested too. How can you find a good recruiter, and how can people get in touch with you, Chris?
Sure. So there's a lot of recruiters out there. And I think it really depends on if you have a specialty, right? So if you're in tech and let's say you want to specialize in Microsoft or Salesforce or SAP or Azure or on infrastructure, there's so many different avenues we can take within IT. So, typically if you want to look on LinkedIn for recruiters that specialize in a particular product or a particular software or a particular service, usually those are the ones that can help get you a little bit closer to landing your position. Sometimes you'll find, there's big players out there, right? There's a lot of big staffing and recruiting companies out in the US. And so a lot of times they may have someone internally that specializes in a particular area or industry or software product. But I think just doing a little bit of research and finding a little bit more about what that recruiter does and what they specialize in will help play to your advantage. For me personally, I'm on LinkedIn. I write a blog or a LinkedIn post almost every day, just about things that come to mind, either those that are trying to break into the IT space, or I write articles about different advantages or different things that you can do to help make your position a little bit stronger as far as when you're competing with other candidates. So most recruiters are active on LinkedIn. That's kind of our go-to place for recruiting and finding candidates and finding positions. So I think anyone who's looking to either step into IT or already in IT, looking to just make a move, to find a recruiter that tends to specialize and look at that recruiter's activity too. Sometimes the recruiters are going to write a lot. They're going to help others. You kind of see and get a feel for what their actual background is by looking at their activity on their LinkedIn profile also.
Well, Chris, I appreciate everything you've said today, and I, appreciate you being on here today. So without further ado,
Awesome.
Christopher Hopper, thank you.
Great. Thank you very much, Taylor. This has been great.
Till next time.